Hi guys, welcome back to another video. I'm so excited to be sharing all of the read alouds that we read in our homeschool this year. I'll give you like a little review, what my kids thought of them, what I thought of them. So let's get started. So all of these books that I'm going to share with you, I read with my first grader and my preschooler this year. A lot of them had to do with our world geography unit that we did or our science unit, but honestly, some of them were just for fun, just because we wanted to read them. So I'm going to not share them in the order that we read them in. I did organize them a little bit, by series and stuff. So, yes. So, and also, I want to point out, we also did do a few audiobooks. I have never, myself, ever listened to an audiobook before. That is not something for me. I am a huge reader, but I've never listened to an audiobook before. But I did take advantage of that, through our library. I think different library programs have, audiobook listening through like Hoopla or Libby or something. And so we were able to listen to a few this year, and my kids did enjoy it because the narrators do a lot of the voices and things, and I didn't have to talk. I don't want to listen to myself talk any more than I have to sometimes. So anyway, so yes, we did do a few audiobooks. I will point out the ones that we listened to. So let's get right into it. We're going to start with my absolute favorite book that we read this year. This one, The Very, Very Far North. This is such a sweet, sweet story. If you have littles like that lower elementary school age and you are looking for, like a first read aloud, something really sweet to get them interested in listening to you read, put this one on your list. There's also a sequel. We did not read that one, but I have it, and we'll definitely read it, I think, this year. It's about Dwayne the polar bear and his friends that he meets in the Arctic, different animals. And they go on these little adventures. He has little adventures with each one of them. And it's just so sweet. He's so innocent. All the animals actually in the story are like this, where they take everything very literally. So he comes across this shipwreck that this owl is living on. Her name is Cece, and she likes to read through the books that are like left over in the shipwreck. And she's always very scientific, coming up with different hypotheses about different things, and they conduct experiments together. But there's, in one of the first chapters, they're having this conversation, her and Dwayne the polar bear, about a grandfather clock and this pocket watch, and she's like, yes, I really think that this pocket watch is going to grow into this grandfather clock. And he's like, okay, this is like a baby watch, and it's going to be, it's just it's so sweet. And then they're still talking about the clocks, and she's saying that the grandfather clock is broken because he doesn't have any hands on his face. And like Dwayne is trying to figure out like hands on a face, like he doesn't understand. And she's not really explaining it very well. And so they're just taking everything very literally. And there's just like so many cute, sweet moments like that in the book where, each of the animals is trying to maybe explain something to the other, and they're taking it literally. And it's so funny in that way. So there are a lot of moments like that are so sweet, and that's why my first grader, and now my second grader, but first grade when we were reading this, he said this was his, I made them each pick 3 books that they liked out of the stack, and this was his fourth. This was his honorable mention, because he really thought some of those moments were so funny, that they were taking everything so literally, but it was so sweet, so innocent. And there's not one huge plot through the book. Each chapter is its own little adventure, and the narrator did all the voices. It was so distinctly different. My favorite was for Handsome the muskox. His voice got so incredibly low when he was doing that one, and oh my gosh, it was just so good. So hands down, this is my favorite book that we read this year. Just so sweet, so cute. So I definitely recommend this one if you have littles, or if you have older kids too. It was just really sweet. Okay, my next favorite, and this was also one of my first graders' favorites as well, was A Rover's Story. This is about this Mars rover. His name is Resilience, or they call him Rez. It goes through, it's broken up into like different sections, and it's basically about him being built, him being tested, getting ready for his Mars mission, traveling to Mars and being on Mars and completing his mission. And it's told from his perspective. So unless he is programmed with something or observes something in front of him, he doesn't know anything. So it's another, like, a little bit of like an innocence thing with this one. So like the scientists around him are discussing like sixth graders, and he has no idea what a sixth grader is, but he's trying to compute what they're saying and trying to come up with what he thinks a sixth grader is. And it's very sweet. This one may be suited for like at least upper elementary school, unless your kids are really invested in like space exploration, just because there was a lot of like self-awareness, trying to process emotions, and I don't want to say it got a little dry, but like I started out reading this book, and then we eventually went to the audiobook, and this was the first audiobook that I've ever listened to and that we did. And once we switched to the audiobook and the narrator was able to do all the different voices for some of the different like the drone and stuff, it got so much better for my kids. But like I said, it is from his perspective for the most part. And so like him not understanding certain things, if your kids don't understand those things, you know, they might not totally get it, but I mean, highly recommend this book. It does go into like, can robots have like technology have feeling, robots having feelings, that sort of thing. And I honestly wondered if they were ever going to get there, and how the author was gonna like resolve that. And it was done so well, because the whole time he's like very technical in his analysis and things. So I thought, oh man, like, I want him to have feelings, but I also know like he's not supposed to have feelings. So that's what I was thinking the whole time. And finally, when we got there, it was so well written, very well done. They also use one of the scientists. Her daughter writes letters. It starts off as like a class assignment, so it's interspersed with like this her letters to Resilience. And she continues it as she gets older, even into adulthood. And her letters kind of help show the passing of time, like I said, because it is written from his perspective. So like when he's traveling to Mars, that takes months and months and months. So they use her letters to like show the passage of time, and she grows up in the story too. So very sweet. Narrators did a good job. There's only one thing I want to mention in case you or your kids might be sensitive about it, is I mentioned the daughter, her mom, one of the scientists, and the daughter mentions it in her letters that her mom gets sick. They don't name it, but she does say like, my mom is sick again, dad's worried, that sort of thing. They never name what she has. She is sick in part of the story, and the author sort of makes it seem like she doesn't make it. But I'm happy to report, I'm going to spoil it for you, everything's fine. She survives, nothing's wrong, but they do mention that she does get sick in the story again. So if you or your kids might be sensitive to that, you can sort of brush over that, but know that she does live. So anyway, that book, this was one of my favorites. This was one of Mr. Seven's favorites. We also read James and the Giant Peach. I have never read any of the doll books before. We have a huge collection of them. We did watch the movie with it, and I mean, if you've read any of his books, or Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, I'm trying to think of some of the other ones. There's BFG, The Witches, all those. They're just kind of weird. You just kind of got to go with it. My kids liked it. The story was fine. We were entertained by it. We'll just put it like that. We liked the movie, and we had just watched. It was around Halloween that we watched the movie too. When we finished it, we had just watched Nightmare Before Christmas, and everybody that basically made Nightmare Before Christmas did the James and Giant Peach movie, so they enjoyed that, because they do change one of the situations that he gets into in the movie, and there's like a Jack Skellington cameo. So we had just watched Nightmare Before Christmas, and then we saw Jack Skellington in James and the Giant Peach. my kids loved that. So yeah, it was just a good read. It was fun. One of the other things that we read this year was The Wild Robot and The Wild Robot Escapes. These two absolutely need to go together. You should read them. You should read them together. And that's what we did. We read them back to back. So good. We did watch the movie for the first one, and my son keeps asking me when the second one is going to come out. And I was like, animated movies take a long time to make. So this one, the first one was one of my daughter's favorites that she picked, and the second one was one of my son's favorites. For his top 3, and it's just a good story. Robot gets her crate that she's in, that she's being shipped, on like a big container ship, falls off the ship, she gets stuck on this island, and she basically has to learn how to survive. Her survival instincts kick in. She has to learn how animals speak and communicate with them. She's there for a long time, and basically adapts to survive on this island. So she's a wild robot. Roz is her name. And the movie was very good. The animation was so beautiful. They changed some things. My kids this was kind of their first introduction into books and movie differences, navigating that. I do feel like some of the emotional things in the movie hit differently because they got to the same place, but they did it differently. I don't know how to explain that. I was watching it and it was like, the plot was so similar, but they changed like just enough that like the emotional stuff I felt hit different in the movie. Anyway, so this one, it kind of ends with her having to leave the island. I'm sorry, I'm spoiling it. She has to leave the island to protect the island at the end. And so the Wild Robot Escapes she is trying to find her way back home, essentially. So, very good. We read them together. I recommend that because they basically belong together. The only thing I want to mention in this, again, kind of similar to what I was saying, not similar, but just like in case you or your kids might be sensitive to it, there is like brief mention of, how do I put this? The circle of life when it comes to animals and like the food chain, essentially. Animals eating animals, or just being out in nature and surviving in general with the animals. It's nothing bad, but like there is like brief mention, like they go through the winter. The book takes place over like a big amount of time. And so like over the winter, some of the animals freeze and they're under the snow. So there's like mention when the snow does thaw, they're there, essentially. You know what I'm saying, okay? So I just want to mention that if you or your kids might be like, ugh. And then the other thing I want to mention in the first book as well is the geese migrate in the book and in the movie, and when they come back, they're retelling the adventure they went on for the migration. And they, in that story, the lead goose, they end up on a farm, and the lead goose gets, let's just say the farmer is protecting his crops. And so he has to, the lead goose doesn't make it. We'll put it like that, okay? So again, if you or your kids might be sensitive to something like that, it's very brief, but I just want to mention it in case that might bother you or your kids. So, anyway, still, we love this. My kids weren't bothered by anything that I just said, but I'm just saying, if that, I don't want to recommend something and then you're like, oh man, I wouldn't have read that if I'd known that, that happens. So anyway. Wild Robot, we enjoyed it. So we also read a bunch of the Magic Treehouse books. We read Afternoon on the Amazon. That takes place on the Amazon River. Late Lunch with Llamas. This one was Ancient Peru, like the Incan Empire. Hour of the Olympics. Midnight on the Moon. We did read Dinosaurs Before Dark, which is the very first one. Narwhal on a Sunny Night. This one was in Greenland. We also read Dingoes at Dinner Time, which was Australia, and then Dolphins at Daybreak. This one didn't say, I don't believe, where it took place, but we were imagining that it took place on the Great Barrier Reef. So when we were doing our Australia unit, that was these two. So we enjoyed those. Jack and Annie going on their little adventure. So yeah. that was this one, or these ones. And then we also, I was looking for something similar to Magic Tree House, you know, but also like a little different. So I also came across a couple other series that we have since read from. So one of them I looked at was, we got a few of these now, Imagination Station. Basically, I'm just gonna take, this is how people describe this series, and I definitely agree. This is like the Christian Magic Tree House. Essentially. It's cousins, Patrick and Beth, and they're slightly older than Jack and Annie. Jack and Annie are like 6 and 8, and I think Patrick and Beth are 9 and 11. They're like slightly older. And again, they go on very similar, you know, they're given like a little mission, some riddle to solve, or something to find, and they travel in time and go on an adventure. I'm not sure. We've only read the one. I do have more of them. I bought like a pack of 6, the first 6, and then I have since bought more because we did enjoy it. So I've only read the one, so I'm not sure how the like Christian aspect will play into some of the other books. In this one, it made sense in conversation because they were talking to Leif Erikson as a kid, who did convert to Christianity. So they were talking to him, and his father, Eric the Red, is not a Christian. So they were just like basic conversational things about religion. So I'm not sure how like the Christian aspect of everything will play into some of the other ones. I guess I'll just have to see. But we did enjoy that. If you're looking for an alternative or something different than Magic Tree House, I would definitely check out Imagination Station. And then the other series that I looked at that was similar but a little different than those two was Secret Explorers. And we have like almost all of these, I think. And they also have a spin-off series. These are written by S.J. King. There's another series called The Timekeepers, which, again, we have a few of those. Haven't read any of them yet, but they're very similar. So in this series, though, there are 8 kids, and they each have a specialty, like a field that they're very well versed in. So one of them's a geologist, one of them's a biologist, one of them's an engineer, one of them's the space explorer. One's the historian. I can't remember all the other ones. But they explain at the beginning of every book, you know, as they're arriving at their like mission headquarters, which I believe is called, I'm getting them all confused. In here, they go to the exploration station. All 8 of them will kind of get called. They have like a watch or something that lights up that lets them know they need to go. They end up at the mission headquarters, and then 2 of them get picked for a mission. So we read Tomb Robbers, which was like ancient Egypt. We also did, what's this called? Missing Scientist. This one took place on the Arctic. There was like a missing ship that they had to go and find. And then this one, Comet Collision, they go to Jupiter to fix a space probe. So those are the 3 that we read, and I was absolutely blown away. There's so much detail in this series. I was really impressed. And like I said, they were all experts in their field. So, like in Magic Tree House, Jack is always having to read from a book to learn anything about the place that they're at. And they're just kind of thrown into a situation with no prior knowledge, usually. But in these ones, 2 of them are paired up to go on a mission. And, they're explaining to each other different things in a way that makes sense. They're not talking down. They're not just listing facts. It makes sense in conversation. It flows really well. And like I said, just so much detail. And it just makes a lot of sense. Like in this one in particular, this was the first one we read, and I was so blown away. The space explorer explains at one point to the other explorer what a gravitational assist is and what that means. And she the way she explained it on like a merry-go-round and like pulling something along and then letting it go, and it flying off at a faster speed than it was before. it just made so much sense. It was so, I really could just gush about this series. I really loved it. It was so well written. Like I said, just so much detail, even just describing the setting where they're at. It's not like we landed in the jungle and then we did this. I mean, there was just in the lush jungle. I mean, it was just so well written. You got so many facts, even in just the little scenery details. I really loved it. And then at the end, they have like some mission notes that we also read through. And then there's like a quiz and a glossary so you can test your knowledge or look up some of the words and stuff. So anyway, actually, before I finish, let me tell you which 3. Okay. All right. So for my preschooler, her favorite 3 books that we read this year, top 3, Wild Robot, The Missing Scientist, and Afternoon on the Amazon were her top 3. Okay? Mr. Seven's top 3, The Wild Robot Escapes, Comet Collision, and A Rover's Story, with the honorable mention of The Very, Very Far North. And then I only picked 2. Couldn't pick 3. Just couldn't do it. These are my favorite 2 that we read this year. Okay? So those are all the books that we read this year. Let me know if you've read any of them down below. If you're going to put some on your list, I'm very sorry. Add them to your Amazon cart or wherever you buy your books from. The library or whatever. Put them on your list. Okay, so I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I have more videos coming on books that we're going to read this next year and favorite readers for my first graders. So if you like book videos, I do have a few more coming. So subscribe if you're new so you don't miss any of those. And I will see you guys all in my next video real soon.